occurred, certainly. Certainly. Start over. No, I'm just kidding. So it certainly has happened. We then have to remedy that situation with flooding or, reconditioning the system briefly if there's too much put in. So, and just as a FYI, here's what fluoride looks like when it hits concrete. So when it leaks, it drips, it hits in, and it will eat through concrete like this. It's dangerous for my guys to be working around it. They have to wear protective gear. In well house number 2, it's not separated. DNR mandates now that anytime you build a well, you have to have fluoride separated from chloride, because when the two mix together, it's not good. Greg can attest to that. We've accidentally had that happen previously here. And so, again, just additional pictures. I don't know why these are of what happens when that fluoride drips and leaks into the concrete, right? So it causes rust and other things. So that's how I got to this decision, right? It was research and understanding, and then the National Toxicology has done studies on what it's doing for children and IQ and other things, and that's the federal government issued, and it's not just some fly-by-night organization. It's professionals, right? Who we do research, and we do rely on professionals to give us their standard. It may not be a local dentist, and it may not be the local Dane County Department of Human Health Services, but it is the federal government, right? And there's also the EPA was sued by this issue, that I can provide additional information to folks that they lost in court to somebody from the state of Wisconsin on fluoride in water. So there's a lot more emerging information that's coming from it. I think we should remove it. It's ultimately not my call. We'll keep doing it. We'll continue to use the same safety precautions we always have if the village board ultimately decides they want to keep fluoridating water. I just don't think it's necessary. So that's how this all came about and where we're at today. I can get additional information if people want. I mean, we can certainly do it. We are buying limited fluoride based upon what we need to get through. Ideally, the pumps will keep working and we don't have to go and replace them right away. But until it's metered out, we can do that. So if there are additional information people want, I certainly can get it for you based upon my information and knowledge and how our records have been maintained. Greg, did you want to add anything? Or?
I think you hit everything.
Thank you. So hands I've seen is Bill, Eric, Don, and then Mackenzie.
Yeah, question for you, Judd. The water service we get at Village Hall, does that have fluoride in it?
Yes, everywhere there's water served throughout the village that is pumped from up the northern part has fluoride in it.
Oh, okay, except for Token Creek or
Well 6 down on Pepsi Way. That's
anything north of Windsor Road. It's fluoride.
If we have to open up the booster situation where we have to let water flow to the south because that well is offline, then they'll have fluoride for that brief amount of time.
Okay. I've been looking at this for over 25 years. When my daughter was 8, which is a long time ago, 29 years ago, she came home from the dentist and the dentist explained why she had massive brown teeth, spots, not brown, but spots. And the dentist says that's fluorosis. We didn't have to do anything. He said it would go away after a while, but it's a sign that she was overexposed to fluoride. I as somebody that's handled hazardous materials for almost 40 years, I understand the consequences of injury to the employees. Sodium fluoride mixed with 3 other ingredients makes sarin gas in a chemical operation. I can only imagine what happens when it's mixed with chlorine. I go to the dentist and they offer me topical application of fluoride. And that makes more sense because it's applied to the enamel. The water that we drink with fluoride in it, how does it get to the outside of your teeth? It doesn't. A topical application, whether it's fluoride application at the dentist twice a year or toothpaste, which is a topical application, I feel does more. I've read a lot of stuff, pros and cons. There's warnings on toothpaste. If your kid eats half the tube, you know, that's a poison. And get them to the emergency room. I don't know too much that's in your bathroom that has that warning like that. There are bathroom things, you know, toilet bowl cleaner, of course, stuff like that, but toothpaste you put in your mouth, but if it's too much, it's toxic. So I'm concerned, as like I said, I've been looking at this ever since my daughter had fluorosis. And toothpaste and topical applications of fluoride, I believe, have been the deciding factor in the improvements in dental health. And my dentist is neutral on this. There's, you know, the ADA, there's some that believe it's the best thing since sliced bread, and the others don't believe much of it. Soda pop ruins your teeth more than anything else. It contains phosphoric acid, which destroys your enamel. My hygienist was so glad to hear that I quit drinking pop years ago. Hygienists just hate pop because of the acid. Like I said, if I want fluoride, I feel I get enough of it in my toothpaste, or when I go to get my teeth cleaned, they will do a fluoride application.
Thank you, Bill. So Eric, you were next.
I just think after what we heard from Judd, I just would still say we should just delay and vote on it in January. And if you can wait to get the new pumps, that's all it would take. And we just do it, have a little more procurement time and understand what we're getting into and read through everything by the people who know it, unlike us, who we are not dentists and we do not work for the United States Health Department. So I would prefer to do something like that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I know there can be issues. I just think we need to see and look at the amounts and all that. I mean, just to be fair. So.
Thank you, Eric. Dawn?
I'm going to disagree with you, Eric. Sorry. I think it's more important of what's happening to children that are exposed to this unnecessary fluoride. They put fluoride in toothpaste years and years and years ago for that very reason, is to keep our dental health good. And children nowadays are exposed to so many things. If we as a village can take some control over what they are exposed to, drinking water, whatever, I think we really need to seriously consider that. I read what Judd had, the three statements, and we're dealing with the government has already said that this is not a necessary addition to the water and that it's more harmful to small children. And we get a fluoride in toothpaste. I think we need to consider what we're doing to our small children. And so that I will disagree with you.
Thank you, Dawn. Mackenzie?
Judd, I just have two questions. One being your team's frequency of adding fluoride and just handling these materials, these hazardous materials.
Like Greg, you can.
So depending on the usage, I would say we're filling fluoride. Right now, we're filling probably every other week at each well. So we got 3 wells up here that add it. So it's every other week we're filling and moving fluoride. If we do get new pumps, we're getting new day tanks, which will be larger, and we won't have to actually move it anymore. Or pump it, so, well, we'll pump it into the system, but we actually don't have to move it from one container into another container like we do now.
Thank you. And then my second question is, if this did take place, we stopped adding fluoride, what does that turnaround time look like?
To when we stop doing it?
Stop doing it, yeah. I'm thinking of resident awareness of this is you're just taking away and then
Oh,
everybody's kind of left in the dust and can't make alternative plans. And I think the timing of it should be.
I'd have to calculate how much. So we're buying fluoride in limited doses right now until we know what we need, you know, what's going to happen. So we would have to calculate out how much it is. And if the board directed us to say, hey, let's do it, give people a 2-month notice, we would acquire that much fluoride and to make it go for 2 months or whatever, right? Because we know how much we have to inject in for every gallon of water.
Thank you. Anything else, Mackenzie? Anybody else? I guess I have a couple things, seeing that there's nobody else. So I'll start off saying that I don't necessarily see this as a budget. I know it adds to our budget, but I'm personally looking at it as a longer term thing. I know it has budget implications, but I just preface that before I ask this. Because like the pumps we were just told was $9,200. So if we would get those pumps and then say we move away from fluoride, I'm assuming that would just be lost dollars. We can't necessarily reuse those pumps or clean them out to be used as chloride pumps or something.
We're having to replace both the chloride and fluoride pumps. Both those pumps are being replaced now. So we would be sitting on those pumps. Maybe somebody would want to buy them, right? We could ask the people who are having them, do they know somebody who would want to resell them so we could potentially resell them at a loss? But the likelihood of that is probably fairly slim.
Yeah, and I think if we're still debating this, I would hold off on purchasing the fluoride pumps until we have a decision made.
Mm-hmm.
And from the budget impact, right? So it's a different line item than the general fund, right? Than the taxpayer. This is all water budget, which is monthly billed to residents in the village, right? For your water usage. So that budget it has a budget impact, but it's not the same. It's a different budget than the general fund and what you're asking on the taxes portion. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's true. I think it was, sorry, I forget if it was Mackenzie or Eric, but I know it was on that side of I like the idea of a notice. So if that is a direction that we're going, I think that would be a good idea to say, okay, 3 months or 6 months or whatever, but that gives people the opportunity to do whatever they want with their in-home system. So I think that could be a good addition. Trying to think what else I wanted to ask. I will mention this, that if we continue the discussion of delaying action tonight, I would just ask the people in favor of delaying state actually what information you're seeking to give staff the opportunity to find that information. I think that's all I'll bring up right now. There's something else I'm forgetting, but I didn't write it down. Go ahead, Eric.
I mean, I would think if we could get some reports, up-to-date reports within the last however months, and see what other towns around us are doing and what the federal government is saying and what the state government is saying, I think that would be sufficient enough. I don't know where we'd get them from but at least something that would be federal, state, local municipalities around us. That's just a general overview. I'm not talking like a 500-page report. Sure. You know, just some stuff.
Anecdotally, when this went out, so when we published the agendas, right? I got a message the very next day from somebody saying, here's some additional information to support what you were looking to do, right? And I called the person to say, how did you hear about this? Like, why would, you know, how did you get to me? They use AI generated things to scour and find fluoride wherever it is, right? So they're in support of removing fluoride. The fluoride lobby and the dental lobby are doing the exact same thing. So we'll have more people saying that, you know, sharing the opposite perspective coming soon. But that person that sent me that stuff, when I talked to them, they said there was 8 communities actively in the state of Wisconsin looking to do this. We made 9, and then she had heard of one other, I think it was 10. So that's, I don't have actual numbers. I can get that for you, but there may be even more happening as we go along, right? So it's gaining traction across. So, but I can get a snapshot to find out. The Rural Water Association might have that information, or they can get it. I'll ask if they have that. Yeah, Marshall did. I know a couple of them did for a variety of reasons. Some where they were having to upgrade their well house, and the DNR was saying, well, you need to now separate these 2 caustic chemicals. And they're like, we don't want to do this anyways, so why would we spend these dollars, right? To build another wall. If you go to some of our well houses, we have a whole separate room to keep the fluoride in.
I'm just more curious because of things here in this country. I'm more curious also to see what Europe is doing, since they seem to be ahead of us on a lot of this stuff. Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark are all fairly pretty adept with this stuff. And I'd like to, if there's any way just to see what, as a peripheral, what they're doing, because it might be sort of indication of where things are going. I don't know if it's for or against. I have no idea. But I'm just saying they seem to be pretty adept and more updated than we are in a lot of this. And it wouldn't hurt to just glance at it and see what they're doing. That's all.
Don, you're,
Craig, you said it was well house 2.
Well, else too doesn't have separation between the chlorine
Yes.
and the fluoride.
So
They're right next to each other.
they're right next to each other.
That's years ago. We haven't had the issue in a long time, but years, like I'd say like 12, 15 years ago, we spilled and we had a chemical reaction between the 2, and it's deadly. Luckily we got out and didn't have any issues, but we had to let it air out and go on safely, but it can be dangerous.
And that's not going to be replaced. That pump doesn't need to be replaced.
Yeah, we'd replace all the pumps, all the fluoride and chlorine pumps next year. Right now, we are in violation with the DNR on well 2, but being that it's grandfathered in right now, doesn't mean down the road that they might make us put an extra room in there if we continue with fluoride, but we'll have to go down that road if that does happen.
So it can happen. It has happened. So it is a danger to the employees.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just, this is, I zoomed in on this, but like that chloride is right here at well 2. I mean, they're separated by feet. And well 2 is really small. I mean, there's nowhere else you would put it, right? Other than if we had to build a wall in there to separate them out. So.
any other discussion?
This is an example, by the way, of a separated one. This is at well 3. It's an external fluoride room, and so it's separated from the remainder of it. But in here you can see there's pitting on the floor as well, and then the metal even gets corroded to an extent from the fumes. So I've got, just so I'm aware, there was a question earlier, what is our fluoride ppm? So I'll ask the DNR if they have that rating. Do we have that? Yeah, well, is there natural fluoride in our water? And then what have we been, we should be at the 0.7 parts per million on average. Like, if we're not, the DNR will let us know if we're over that very quickly, right? So we're in a good standing there. So, but the number of municipalities that are removing this, what does Europe do for fluoride? Are there other things that people wanted me to get information on to bring back? Did I miss something? I just want to make sure I got my notes right.
I think just getting some of the peripherals so we can understand it a little better is all. I don't think you need to write a report or anything like that. Bare bones basics, so we can read through it and see what different people are saying would be enough, Judd.
Okay.
I'm not.
Judd, I'll include just the American Dental Association stance on this. I think that would be a good benchmark to have.
I guess I would add if I don't know what it is, some water system association. I remember say like Kevin Richardson used to be pretty active in it. But some sort of engineering more thing as far as if fluoride is good for pipes or something, I don't know. I'm assuming it's inert. But do you know what I mean? There's probably like a water system group.
Well, we have Wisconsin Rural Water Association that we're active members part of. I mean, but I'm sure it has to be caustic I mean, it's an acid, right? So some things it might be fine on and others it's not, right? It's a specific containment that we have. Did I close that already? Right, so this bucket obviously can withstand holding that acid in there, but I don't know what it does to metal. Like, I know it certainly can cause some rust issues potentially. We have that at well 4, right? Probably have it in most of them,
Biggest one.
but I'll certainly see.
Yeah, I just mention it as another professional organization that might have an opinion. And to me, I think you already wrote this down, Judd, but to me, I'm also curious what other, say, Dane County communities or the surrounding areas might be doing.
Okay.
But I'd say that's been the discussion. There's also, the item is discussion and recommendation. So I guess I'd sort of look for the recommendation, and I'd say recommendation could be the recommended discontinuation. It could be to keep it in, or it could be to delay the action or recommendation. Go ahead, Matt.
I'd recommend that we hold off on making a recommendation for at least 1 month till our next meeting, and we get the information that Judd has jotted down.
Okay, I'll accept that as a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I saw Dawn's hand first, sorry. Any further discussion on the motion or the topic? Yes, go ahead.
I just put the motion as to bring back to the December meeting.
Yeah. And I'm, okay. Yeah, we do have a December meeting. And could I ask just, I don't think it's necessarily needed, but I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote.
I prepared it just in case. So, all right, first one, Mike McHugh. All right, Matt Hayden. Mackenzie Lucius.
Yeah.
Bill Landgraf.
No.
Eric Larson. Don Clemens. Jim Simpson.
Yes, for the more information
Yes. Okay.
or delay, sorry.
It passes 4-3.
Thank you all very much. Maybe a little bit out of order, but I'll mention this because this is also on the village board's agenda for tomorrow. So I guess we'll see how that goes. I'm guessing the village board could continue the discussion even without a recommendation, but we'll see. I mainly mentioning for people in the audience, but any other comments, Reese, Judd?
I did just want to add, I did take some additional notes based on me not starting the recording on time. So I'll work with Callie and Joelle tomorrow on how to indicate those.
And I guess further clarification reads, can you have that prepared? I'm assuming you'll have it prepared for tomorrow's meeting in case it is discussion tomorrow.
Yeah, I can write something up so that we have a record of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So we'll go back to the agenda. We're at item 7.1, discussion on the 2025 through 2029 comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. Suman, Reese, or Judd?
Yeah, so just kind of wanted to provide an update. As you all saw through email, we've had some changes to the adoption process. But ultimately, I think that this is a great direction that we're moving, getting the three deciding bodies together all in one room. So we know that everyone's hearing the same thing, but Ben with Vandewall came to the P&Z meeting on November 11th and provided a synopsis of the process that we have gone through so far with the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, sharing about the surveys, the public interactions, and allowed an opportunity for the planning and zoning to ask questions at that time. The feedback I got, and Greg or Judd or Jim, you want to share something else, but overall it seemed like there was support from the P&Z as far as they've gone through the plan. We had given Ben the suggestions that we had received after the first draft. I think he did a great job of putting those into the plan. And then kind of just highlighted the area for that. And then the next steps will be for the final draft to go before the village board, Public Services Committee, and Planning and Zoning on December 3rd as a joint meeting. So that will be at 5 p.m. There'll be a public hearing posted for that. It should go out. It should have gone out in the paper last Friday, was the first one, and we have that posted online as well. So anyone who's looking to provide any additional feedback can send that to me, and I'll send it to those three bodies so that they can have it ahead of time for discussion review. We'll also place it on the village board meeting for that night as well if we need, but we believe all of you have done a great job of providing feedback and getting us to where we are, that we feel good about December 3rd and being able to get to adoption. But here to, answer if there's any questions about the process. I know you guys have been receiving a lot of reminder emails from me to let me know if you're coming on the 3rd. I'll probably still bombard you with those if you haven't responded. So let us know, because we just have to decide how we're going to be setting up the room, who's all going to be present. You are also welcome to attend virtually that evening as well if you'd like. But anything else?
I would add that the planning and zoning, everybody that spoke said that it was a well-written plan, but also well-written plan for what they had time to process. So we had asked them to give comments to Reese really by this morning or sometime today, and I'm a bit curious if you have received any.
I have not received any communication. So I did talk with Ben earlier today, and we're pretty set for December 3rd.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll open it up for discussion. Yep, I guess it's just discussion, no recommendation at this time. I'm not seeing any. I guess a couple points that I've brought up once or twice, but I personally, there's different parks that in my opinion are unnamed parks, but they show up with names. And I would like them to stay unnamed until we have more of a consensus, I'll say, because I don't quite know how to present that, but. Sensory park. Right, and I'll just speak frankly, like, I like the, say, the Baki, I feel they've been a very prominent family, I'll say, in the area, so I don't mind like Baki Park as a name, I just hesitate to have like Baki Sensory Park. I also know that there's Baki Conservancy, so is that gonna be confusing, and maybe we have a different person we wanna name that park after, but I just hesitate to have names and parks in the plan before they've been vetted thoroughly, I'll say.
So would the ideal be that it would be like SP1 or NP1, kind of how we have other unnamed parks on the map?
Sure, or even unnamed Park 1 in the Northern Industrial Park or near north, unnamed Park 2 north of Highway B or something. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think we could come up with something to put in the plan that doesn't give a name. I think that's.
Right, I think a lot of my hesitation is like the call out Sensory Park, right, and the name when it hasn't necessarily say started developing that direction. And I'd even say the same for the mountain bike park. I don't think we should have it in the plan as, was it East River Mountain Bike Park? It should just be the unnamed park and conservancy with the different designations within it of, say, the proposed uses being mountain bikes. That's my thought. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, there's nothing against Baki Sensory Park if we were going to have a sensory park, but if we name it, I can see where the confusion in the public, it's named Baki Sensory Park and it turns into Simpson Amusement Park per se. Somebody is going to get confused and go, hey, where's our sensory park? You know, not to that degree, but you see what I mean. And it kind of puts it out there, just a confusion in the public, but.
Amusement park is a different kind of sensory park, but it is a sensory park.
But you see what I mean? You know, we're not locked in. I mean, where we're thinking of having the mountain bike park, it's not set in stone. It hasn't come before us even, or the village board to say, yeah. But to label it, you've seen how, not inflamed, but engaged the public has been on that. And if we all of a sudden decided something else, they're going to go, hey, you promised that. And I can kind of see that, but it's not something, you know, priority one, but it just, I can see where you'd have concerns on that.
I think we would still have listed underneath there the like recommended improvements, which is fine. And I think the other important piece to remember is that even if we, I mean, hopefully we approve this plan, that we can always make adjustments to it. So if we, you know, identify a better use for the Baki sensory area, you know, we could go through the process with the public, getting, you know, feedback and make a formal amendment to the plan.
Right, and this plan, I think you've got a lot more public input, which is, you know, great. People are engaged, they know where to go to make their comments known. And if it's one thing in this whole plan is the public input that was brought in. And I really like that part. I sat there at family fun night and watched the groups or individuals come along and give their 2 cents and what they think. Everybody's not going to agree to the same thing. But we can have a consensus but you guys did a great job on public input. You always want more, but we got what we got. Thanks.
So another comment that I've made is looking at some of the maps, in my view, some of the road names are rather prominent and often overlaps, say trails or other things that I feel are important to see. And I would have personally liked to have, say, a map even without names if even need be, or say only label the arterials. We don't need to label a lot of the even collector or whatever lesser roads. So that's a comment that I've made. And the other one that I want to bring up, and I can't necessarily point to different locations in the plan, but I know it was mentioned multiple times. The concept of having a pool, and I feel like that was vetted pretty thoroughly a year or two ago. And I just bring up the concern to continue that discussion in the plan at the level that it was in there. Have you discussed that with Ben or?
Yeah, we did discuss that with Ben and, I think in full transparency to the public, I think it's important for us to continue to have it in this plan because it was what the public said, so to discount it, even though we have gone through the public process of, vetting out if it was something that they wanted to do. I think that was kind of where it came from, is that it doesn't seem like we're being very transparent if we take that out, even though that's what the public has asked for. So that was why, it's in the plan. And ultimately, even when we did vet it with the public was in favor of us having a public pool. They were not in favor of paying for a public pool. So I think that continues to probably be where we're at with it. And so I think it warrants it staying in the plan, would be my opinion.
The money fairy suddenly showed up and dropped $15 million for us to build a pool. We have the ability through the court plan to say, yeah, we could do the pool, right? It doesn't require us to do a pool now, but it's there. And I think it's important for us to have that still listed in there.
Yep, and I can agree. I'm sure, in the public eye a lot. So I'll take a more critical eye when I look through the plan again and maybe make recommendations on the December 3rd for minor changes of that. Thank you. That's everything I had. Bill?
Yeah, on that line, I reread it again last night, the part about the pool, and I reread it a couple times. And it's kind of vague. At first you read it the first time, it says we're going to do a feasibility study. This is going to move forward. And you read it again, and I agree, it's in there. If somebody does drop 15 million, the process is spelled out. Well, just because somebody drops 15 million on it, we're still going to do a feasibility study. And it doesn't worry me as much, but the plan has to have it in there. If somebody was going to donate 15 million, you can say, yeah, we've got it in there. You can have your conditions, you can do your feasibility study, and if it comes out, but you have to have it in the plan. It has to be spelled out. And I fully understood it more every time I read it. And I understand why it's in there. Just like the explanation on, the mountain bike section, or skate park section, it spells out the steps to do it. So if somebody comes in, you're going to be able to say, hey, we have to do this feasibility study. We're going to have to repeat a lot of stuff, but the public knows that just because somebody gives 15 million, we're not just going to jump. So I understood that. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else?
I would just add, if you do have any more like comments or questions or things that you want to discuss at the December 3rd meeting, having those to me ahead of time, it allows me to get it to all the committee members, so that everyone can kind of consider and review that so that it, we can still have it as an open discussion at that meeting, but at least we're not sitting here going, oh, well, now we need to look into this further, or do anything like that. So if you could please make sure to get those to me ahead of time, and then, like I said, I'll share it with all of the committees.
Thank you, Reese. And on that note, can you elaborate, say, the process of, say, this plan, the hope was to get it approved by all the board or all the committees and the board in the December 3rd meeting. And what I'm a little bit curious too, I'll say for my comfort level and maybe other committee members, what is going to be the process moving forward as far as like to amend this plan? Is that something that happens at this committee, or does it have to go to planning and zoning or board? Can you say that?
Yeah, so if we were to make amendments to this plan, we would ultimately have to come here. We would have to, because to get a recommendation, we would have to go to planning and zoning because they passed a resolution for recommendation, and we would have to go to village board to have them have the final resolution for amendments. They're ultimately the final acting body on this document.
So it's a decently lengthy process, but
So it would
So you
allow for a
accomplish
lot
that.
of public input then
Yeah.
as well, so.
yep, exactly. Okay, any other comments? I think again, that was just discussion, so if I see none, we'll move on to 7.3. Discussion on targeted runoff management grant. Is that Judd maybe?
So it's another grant opportunity that we're going to apply for with the DNR. This is the one we awarded, right?
Yeah, we were successful on one,
That's a stormwater surface grant.
so, yeah, the
200,
targeted 220 some thousand.
yep.
221, I think is what we got, and it's a matching one. This is another, $225,000 maximum, for this one. And it's 50/50 cost share, that we would like to, hopefully, we got a good opportunity to receive. We get it.
Can you talk about the use? Is that for storm base?
Yahara River Stormwater, or not, Yahara River, Stream Bank project. So restoring the stream banks. We've got to be close to $600,000 by now with all of our grants that we've received. So
This is like
pretty
so
good job.
Phase one, we got a lot of grants. We got that surface water and the TRM grant. The second phase, this is again where we're going back through the same process to get additional grants, those same ones, because they like to see the continuation of it. So that's what we're doing here.
I think this was just more of an update, letting you guys know that we're gonna apply for it, so.
Discussion, questions? Bill?
Just a comment. It's great. Steam bank restoration isn't cheap. And there is money out there, and you guys went and chased it, and keep chasing it because it's not cheap, but the results are gonna be beautiful to the village, the residents, to the visitors. It's what, as we found out in the past couple of years, that's what in the parks plan, that's what attracts people is the river. So good job.
It also benefits downstream, right? Because it's preventing more phosphorus from going into the river, ultimately making our class 2 trout stream, hopefully moving it up the next level, but it also protects the chain of lakes down the road that we're a major contributor to, so.
Dawn, did you have anything there?
When do you hear whether you've gotten the money or not, Greg?
This one, it'll probably be here in the next couple of months, because we just, it was just due Friday. So we just resubmitted the application and should know in another month or two.
221,000?
200, this one will be 225,000 for small projects.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you. Seeing no other discussion, I'll move on to 7.4. Parks design, planning, and community listening session discussion.
So just kind of wanted to give you guys a update. We're looking at getting a plan, design company to come in and give us some park designs for a bunch of parks that we have, several of them. Conservancy Commons splash pad. We're looking at splash pad to, in the next couple years, reconditioning that site because it's old. I think it was 2007 or 9 that was installed, so it's well overdue. North Industrial Parkland, we've got that area at 6 acres. We need to come up with a design, get an idea out there on these park lands, and get them out in front of residents to see, hey, do you like this? What else do you want to see at these parks? If you saw the memo there, you could read the park areas that we're looking at. So we're looking at that, get some valuable community feedback once we get those designs. We're also looking at organizing 3 listening sessions next summer in 3 different parks. We haven't, I don't think we've decided on the park locations quite yet. I know Fireman's Park will be one.
Yeah, I think we've talked about doing Shane O'Donnell Park and Dale Jenkins Park, so we can kind of hit different areas of the community, and then tying together with one of the events at Fireman's Park, since we know that we would already have an audience here. I also just wanted to note too, like, it's an important part too with our messaging is that these are conceptual plans. You know, when these plans are drafted, it's not to mean like, yep, this is what we're doing. It's to get an idea out there, because the general resident is not a park planner. They, if you give them a blank area, they're like, oh, we'll put a baseball field and a football field. And it's like, well, that park's, not big enough for that. And you look at the parking and what would be available. So it's to have a professional come up with some ideas and then to work with the public to hone in what they would like to see.
Would it be possible to have a public services meeting in conjunction with one of these listen sessions in the park? Other communities will have say a parks committee meeting in an actual park.
I would just have to talk with Kelly, I guess, about the logistics of that and how that works with like the open meetings and taking minutes and making sure. I think as long as you're staying in one location and it's posted and the public can be present, right. That's fine, but definitely not my area of expertise, so.
It's just an idea.
I think it would be difficult to have a listening session and a meeting happening at the same time. I think our meeting should stay here and because it can be more focused, right? And you're all welcome to come, and we will notice that listening session, that there could be a quorum of the Public Services Committee there, but I think it makes sense. Now, to take a meeting to a public park, I'm fine with doing that. I think it'd be great, right? We could.
Or even here,
Right.
Yeah. We got to pick a nice day, though.
Thank you. Our meeting's not on Tuesdays.
I'd say I wouldn't mind doing that, but I just want to mention with my experience at the DOT, it's important to also have the ADA compliance. We're probably talking parks that have shelters and ramps and things too. Don, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was looking at the map, future parkland, 3 acres along River Road. Now, is that where there's going to be some new apartments?
Yeah, those are gonna be condos and apartment buildings, just south of the cemetery and church there by Woods Glen, yeah.
And how big are, how big is, how many
How
apartments?
many units?
Yeah. 300? Okay.
Yeah,
Is a
it's a lot.
3-acre park large enough?
It's not a, it's a, what is it? A neighborhood park, so that would be considered big enough for that area.
Larger than a mini park or a
Yes.
Todd Park, right? So it's in between. So it will function well enough. And I think we've got some potential ideas of what we could do there, but obviously we'll look for other feedback from folks, but yeah.
I just couldn't visualize 3 acres, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Don. If I could state an opinion I have, and like this is one example, that park that you had on the screen earlier. I just wonder about the scale of the project, because some of these parks to me seem like they're pretty far out in the future. And how does that work, say for the, say the cost of it? If we would say only choose half of the parks that are more in the near future versus the ones that are distant. Has that been thought of? I mean,
So I
One
think we're
thing to
certainly
have,
wanting
like-
to improve the parks where there's residents, like we want to improve that Fred Park, like in the middle of that field without other things happening there, right? And these are all conditional on parkland improvement fees that we get, right? So a lot of that, every development comes with a hefty price tag per unit for parkland improvements. So as they develop, every lot kicks back X $1,000, or every apartment per unit kicks back X $1,000 for us to build the amenities that go into the park. So a lot of times we're waiting for that money to come so we can build the park, unless the developer's willing to build the park in advance. Like Don Tierney, he likes to build the park first and then build the homes around it, because he feels that park is an attraction to that neighborhood, so he wants that there. Other developers are like, we'll let that happen at the end and you guys can deal with it.
okay.
So that's how we do it.
I guess I would just hope, you may have already done this, but I'll just say it anyway. I just hope that you think about, as far as like when we're getting costs from consultants to develop these plans, that if it gets too costly, that we should potentially scale back and maybe look at the plans that would have potential to be implemented in, say, 3 to 5 years, and not necessarily look too far, because to me, the plan would just have to get redone before you build it, if it's probably even 3 years out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're getting at, like Ivor Munson Park and the Fred development on River Road. Those could be 3 to 4 years out. I mean, it all depends on development and how fast things move, so.
Yeah.
I think we get that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Thank you. Item number 8.1 is a public service update.
I'll just let you know, the leaf vac truck's been running around the village a whole handful of times, many times, filling up and emptying and filling and emptying. So it's been great. A lot of residents continue to embrace that, and even more residents are. But it's still surprising if you ever go out to the yard waste site, the amount of people that bring their own leaves down there every weekend or each night. So it's a mix of people who still like to do it the old way and some who like to bring it out to the curb, and we'll come by with the leaf vac truck and get it.
And I just wanted the yard waste site is open during the daytime. We typically get it open about 7:30 to, well, it stays open through the night till 7, so just wanted to get that out to you guys.
Joe, do you want to take this public service announcement time to tell people where to put their leaves with respect to their curb?
We'd prefer that it stays on the terrace and not into the road, but most people are in compliance with that, but we have seen some folks religiously put them in the road, not just on one occasion, but there's a fair number of people who have put them in the road, and when I see it, I'll remind them, a lot of my neighbors, I'm like, hey, keep it on the terrace in the grass, please, so.
Lead by example, that's what we always say.
Bill, do you have something?
Are we using the leaf vac truck more than the sweeper?
Sweeper's going out as much, the sweeper's out every day
As
as
much
well,
it used
yeah.
to? Oh, okay.
Yep, they're both in tandem, basically.
Maybe when they go by my house, they've got it going, the leaf vac truck. So it sounds like they're going, sucking up along the gutter.
They will.
Would they
The
do
leaf-
that
The leaf vac truck sucks up along the gutter, right? So,
as they're moving along?
right.
Yeah.
So we don't have one following the other, right? One can be in one part of town and the leaf vac truck is somewhere else, so.
Yeah.
The Highway V project, the sanitary sewer project crossing Highway V, that's done. Highway V's back open to full capacity, and I think they finished with the fog line at Perrin High, right? So that's all done. Northtown Road is open and completed, so you can,
It's not open.
right, huh?
It's not open.
Not yet.
It's closed, yeah.
No, it will be soon. The second pavement was done, but soon you'll be able to take from Highway V all the way down to 19 on Northtown Road, so.
I imagine that'll be open, hopefully next week. We have center line, markings yet to do, and they're doing Mr. Manhole. They started that yesterday, so. Once that's completed, we'll open it.
The
So
meeting
you
wasn't
get the
recorded during
paint.
that, was it?
Yeah, get the paint down soon. It's getting cold.
I know, I'm like, it was supposed to go down yesterday, I'm like, and then Mr. Manhole showed up.
Pepsi Way has got started, so that project is underway, the extension for Quick Trip Pepsi Way to Northtown Road. So they're doing, I think all the storm work is done and they're starting to put the road in, the underlay, the base of the road, and knock on wood, early December pavement will happen, so, those are the big projects we have that are working or in the process of getting completed, so.
Curiosity, the Pepsi Way, are they doing the tie-ins and everything this season yet too? As far as like curb and gutter all the way through?
Curb and gutter will be done,
So from the start of Pepsi Way by well 6, at the end of Pepsi to just past Northtown Road will be curb and gutter, and then part of Zaire Road will be curb and gutter. And then the rest will wait till,
Spring.
Spring.
Okay, so are they gonna do the reconfiguration of the,
Not Metro Drive,
okay,
not until spring
okay,
next year.
thank you.
Is it Zaire Road or Zaire Boulevard?
Zaire Lane,
Zaire Lane.
yeah.
Who is it? I forgot to ask when trustee Little brought that up. And I had similar thoughts. Since the medical clinic is on Zaire Lane, would there be any confusion with the ambulance? Say they called Dane County. Would the addresses would be different? Correct? Would it be more like 3,500 Zaire Lane versus Zaire Road would be 2,200? Would that, I thought of that after it was brought up.
I don't know how we're not the people to ask how numbering goes, because it's a nightmare.
Well, when somebody's calling 911 anyways, they ask you where you're at, and they can ping you, on your cell phone. So they're gonna say Village DeForest, or I'm in DeForest, where Zaire Road is in Madison, so
Right.
there's a pretty easy distinction there.
It's not 1960 anymore. Thanks.
Thank you. 8.2 Recreation and Community Enrichment Update.
Yeah, so we just have a couple of events coming up that I wanted to share about. So we have the holiday tree lighting that's going to be Wednesday, December 4th. So you'll start noticing that we'll have trees going up in the park and decorations. We have 16 trees this year, tree sponsors plus a main tree sponsor. So it's been a great community event. We're getting a lot of great support, and we're looking forward to another awesome year. So that will be here. We're hoping for good weather, not freezing cold like a couple years ago. And then that Friday, we also have the candlelight hike at Western Green Park. So we're looking forward to another great event there. And then Trisha's also working on the Shop Local event that we have. I believe it starts the Friday after Thanksgiving. And the last I had heard from her was that they're having great business support that have all signed up for it. So Judd's pulling up on Engage DeForest. This is where you can find additional information about the businesses participating, their hours. So I think just another great thing that we're doing. And then also on Engage DeForest, you'd be able to find, we're looking for feedback on this year's farmers market from participants that went, just any type of improvements that we might be able to make, why you attend, just some additional information. So we're going to be collecting that through the end of the year. And then also looking to get feedback on Yahara River Fest and what Yahara River Fest means to you. Ultimately, we're going to be looking at maybe doing some rebranding for Yahara River Fest. We're not sure how up to date the catfish is as a logo. So we want to get interactions from the community on what it means for you. And again, maybe what are some improvements that we might be able to make to that event to bring more people down to it. That's all.
Thank you, Reese. And I would add that I saw Tricia out and about, and it happened to be the same day where she's probably talking to you, and she was pretty excited about the Christmas tree lighting and how much funding and community support that we'd have. And I think there was also an idea of voting on trees, and I'm wondering if that is actually going to be carried forward.
Yeah, so they are going to be doing a competition for all of the businesses that are decorating trees. So that can be done at the event and then also can be done online as well after the event. And then we're looking to get little like trophies made, and we'll do some social media posts about it. But I can't say enough good things about Trisha. She has done absolutely a phenomenal job with our events and sponsorship, and she's been a great addition to the village. So I think the impact that she makes is felt by all.
Thank you. 8.3 National Resources Update.
Don't have much. We, Dahl Park, we recently finished seeding that to natural prairie. We rototilled, staff rototilled the whole, I think it was about 2 acres of ground in the stormwater basin area. And then we seeded it all with native plants last week. So hopefully springtime we'll see some things coming up, and it'll be a nice place to be. We also are starting the deer stands. We put up some elevated stands for the sharpshooters for the deer call. They're looking to come in December, January, February to start that. So
We'll also make those as nature vantage points when we're not using them. So in the spring, summertime, residents could climb. There'll be stairs to get up to that elevated platform, and you could look out. So we're 2 areas we're putting it. So one of those areas is a pretty neat spot that you'll be able to look out and see kind of nature and wildlife in action.
Well, maybe we don't want to talk about it in public, but if it's going to be open to the public, I'm guessing it's on lands that we own, probably.
All these areas that we will do the deer call is on village property, but a safe distance away from every residentials that are there.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other, item 9, any other business that lawfully comes before the Public Services Committee? Seeing none,
Motion to adjourn.
motion by Bill, is there a second? Seconded by Matt. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:20. Thank you all.